What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living in West Africa. And if you want to know what's going on in the news around the continent of Africa, then this is the video for you. All right. So we are live. We're live. Let me know if you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. And I want to know where you're watching from. We do this every week. We're live every week. I want to know where people are watching from, and let me know if you can hear me. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, and then let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to see who we got and where everybody is. So we got a few people joining. Give some time for everybody to join before we get into the content today. But first of all, can you guys hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Where are you watching from? Let's see. Do we got anybody telling us where they're watching from? Yeah, everybody's joining slowly but surely. We got a lot to talk about today. Okay, so we got Tutor for All is watching from Kashmir, India. Okay. Maya's watching from Virginia. Nice. Clemcy Motion is watching from Nigeria. Okay. The Good Bruce said you can hear me. Janice said you can hear me. All right. Miss New Booty 1974. All right. Watching from Washington, SC, or maybe DC. I guess that was Washington, DC. Just a mistype. In the United States. All right. Cool. It's Mort. Okay, watching from West Palm Beach, Florida. We got Nairobi. Met_HTML is from Nairobi. 6 Mika Do 9 is watching from Tanzania. We got Limerick from Cincinnati. So far we have Nairobi and Tanzania. So we have East Africa represented. We have Asia represented with India. We got a few people from the States. Cincinnati, Washington, D.C., we got Angela Johnson watching from California. W Clips is watching from Seattle, Washington. Bells Nefertini is watching from Florida. Okay. Met_HTML, Nairobi, Kenya. I got it. North Carolina loud and clear from Greg McMillan. Okay, we got the Bronx in the house. Mistaken Lee. Just was on the phone with somebody from the Bronx the other day. Of course. Dia Lillyflower is watching from Chicago, Illinois. Afro Ferret is watching from Sudan, which we're going to talk about on today's call. Ross from Fort Worth, and yes, I hear and see you. Nice. Miss Nubuti said you can hear me. Nice. My network is a little unstable. I'm in West Africa, specifically Sierra Leone, so my network goes in and out. So apologies for the interruptions in audio and video, but it sounds like you guys can hear me overall. But yeah, it's a little challenging sometimes with the internet here. Let me find my Wi-Fi to just make sure it's actually plugged in. And here it is behind me. Yeah, we're plugged in. So I'll be looking at it here just to make sure it's working. Okay. We did. Okay, who do we have? Who else? We got Edward from Alabama. Okay, we got You Know What's Up from Bronx, New York City. Trend Spin from the UK. Valerie Reyes from California, Los Angeles to be exact. Batu Kwabena. Okay, Batu Kwabena is watching from Toronto, the 6th. Okay. We have Jackson, Mississippi. Greenlee's watching from Jackson, Mississippi. I-10 is watching, Amandi is watching from Beaumont, Texas. Okay, we got what is it? Funkadelic, I got it. Funkadelic is watching from Sweden. Okay. Ross Haynes is from Texas. What part of Texas? Derek Ellerm is Ghanaian in the UK. Trendspin says the UK, London, UK. All right, cool. All right, so we got people from all over the world. we have at least 4, if not 5, continents represented today. And so we're going to talk about what's going on in the continent of Africa, the news that's been happening. But before I do, maybe I should do some introductions so you guys know who this is, that you're actually even watching live right now. My name is Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American. I live in West Africa right now, born and raised in the United States, as apparent by my accents, mostly in New York and in Pennsylvania. Lived in LA for a couple years. Moved to the continent of Africa in December of 2020. Well, actually, I moved in November of 2020. Moved to Ghana at the end of December 2020. Stayed in Ghana until April of 2023. And at that point, moved to Sierra Leone. So I've been living in Sierra Leone since April of 2023. I have a social media agency, and I also run this platform, Authentic African. The goal of this platform is to bring Africa and the diaspora together, educating each other about what's happening in each area of the world and how we can all work together to improve our collective consciousness and progress forward as a group, right? Because I think if we work together, we no longer have to rely on others to. With that, I'm going to get into a little bit of a presentation, go through the news story so you can see it, but then also I'm going to run through just some of the things that I offer as services for people, anyone who's interested, right before we get into the story. So let me pull that up in a moment here if you can see my screen. But first, let me actually get StreamYard back up. It says I keep losing my connection, so apologies for that. So real quick, a couple people. Anne-Marie Harding is in the building from London. Shout out to Anne-Marie Harding for always showing up. I get shadow banned on YouTube as apparent by the people who know that the stream is even happening. You guys don't get notified. So it's always good to get you guys, to come back every week, and you guys are always supporting, so we appreciate that. Stan Slim is watching from Nigeria. What's up, Stan Slim? And Miss P is here. What's up, Miss P? So, all right, let's share my screen, and let's get into today's topics, because a lot to cover, and it is real hot over here. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm baking right now. Bacon bits, as I used to say. It's hot. It's really hot. It's really hot right now. Let me see. Okay, let me know if you guys can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can see my screen. It should say, what you should see on the screen is Africa Breaking News Live, Congo Protest, Sahel Partnership in Kenya and Haiti. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Just give me a thumbs up so I know you guys can see my screen. So we got some people from Baltimore. Taz from Baltimore is in the building. We got a lot of people from all over the place, and the power just went out. Typical. This is the third time in the last couple of hours where the power has gone out, and I'm going to use this towel to wipe my sweat a little bit because it's that hot. I'm in West Africa, guys, and it can get hot here. And to maintain the audio quality, I have closed doors in the room to keep the sound from outside sounds from getting in. Lights back all of a sudden. They take lights, they bring it back. Shout out to being in West Africa. All right, cool. So, all right, lots to cover today. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Looks like you guys can see my screen. I got a bunch of thumbs up, so that's all good. So let's get into the content. Ark Kayleen said it's cold over here. I'll be cool. I'll be keeping cool inside my mind for you, brother. That's what Jacob Porter said. Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot over here. All right, cool. So let's get into the content today. So we're going to talk about, all right, so just real quickly, I upload videos throughout the week on YouTube. I'm always uploading content on Instagram. Many of the times what you'll see now is I'm doing a lot of collaborations with folks on Instagram, Africa Stream, Red, and a few others. And so you'll just start to see more and more of those collaborations with them And I'm definitely looking forward to bringing more of them and hopefully bringing them on the platform in a live fashion. There are so many different conversations that we want to have about what's happening in the news. And I don't want it to only be me speaking about the news, getting your responses, and like by typing it and then talking about it. What I'd love to do is start getting the folks who are reporting on the news to come on to give us a little bit of backstory on what's been happening, but then also to give their opinions, because obviously the continent of Africa is vast, and 54 countries, and depending on what numbers you believe, some countries consider themselves, some other provinces or places consider themselves countries. Sorry, there's something going on here. It's really not. Okay, it's not going anywhere. Okay, got it. So that's one of the things that I think is really important to know. And so anyway, what we want to do is share more about what's happening. All right, so on that note, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, share this with people so they know these lives are happening and so that they can ensure that they're getting the most out of this information. All right, cool. Services. If you want to move to West Africa, I can help you do that. Building a house, buying land, all of that stuff. These are all the services that I offer. I'm not going to spend time going through them. You guys can come back to the platform, watch another live if you want to see these. Now, I will say that I've had 13 different sessions with folks who are planning to move to West Africa. And here's some of the things we talked about: business ideas, Airbnb, manufacturing, transportation businesses. I've also helped people with home buying, making introductions. There's a person on the process of buying their own land right now. We've done some specific details on what the process looks like to buy homes. I have some folks that I work in partnership with that can help you build. There's so many things that I can ensure you get through the process and not get scammed. The biggest issue with buying land in anywhere outside of the country you're from is that, one, contractors all over the world are difficult to deal with. So you want to have someone who has an understanding of what it's like to deal with the local contractors in that country. And two, a lot of times you need people on the ground. And my services that I provide offer that. So whether that's through myself or through partnerships that I have with other folks, we ensure that you are not out in the dark when trying to build and buy. All right, so here's some testimonials from some folks. You can see them here. Obviously, people have glowing things to say about these consulting sessions. So anyway, those are the consulting sessions. Here's some of the testimonials. And moving on now to how to book a consultation. Obviously, you can just find that in the link in the description. So I also have influencer services. If you're looking for somebody to do any of these three things, I can help with that. Social media consulting, I can help you grow your social media following. As you can see now, I think I'm over 200, I'm over 350 to 360,000 followers across all platforms. I have double-digit numbers on everything from Instagram to Threads. So obviously, I found a way to grow all these platforms independently with some tricks and tips that I've learned along the way. And so if you need help with your own platform as an African or diasporan business owner or brand, and you want someone to consult with, just to sit down with me for a few sessions, I can give you some thoughts and ideas. This is where you can find me. And then if you want to promote your brand on my Instagram, folks like Taraji P. Henson is a follower of the Instagram page. Not only does she follow, but she actually has engaged with content before. So if you want to be in front of folks like her and another 260,000 other folks on Instagram and across the social media platforms overall for Authentic African, definitely reach out. We can ensure that we can get you in front of those folks. And if you're interested, I have a link for it, and the link will be in the description below, and it's also in my profile. And so you can just click on that, and it'll take you to how to find out what the pricing is for all of these services, and then also how to pay. Here's some past partners who have done some Instagram promotion. I've done promotion with Drizzlick, one of our Sierra Leonean artists who did a song with Idris Elba. It's a big deal, obviously, because Idris Elba is known by all. He's actually in the country right now. I've also done some stuff for a really cool vitamin company called Alionka Vitamins, and also Sonita, who has broken world records for weightlifting as of last week. And so we had all of these folks and many more advertise with us on the platform. And then, of course, we have a case study here. This DTR 360, pretty big platform on Instagram. If you follow my page, you probably follow them. They've also had some pretty good success with some posts, with the posts that they did on our platform. All right, so that's where you can work with me. Let's get to the news. Before we get to the news, let's see if there's any questions, comments, thoughts before we move on. All right, cool. Not a lot. So we're just gonna get right into it. So the first story here, and you'll see a theme a little bit with some of these news stories, and I think I'll tell you what those threads are. We're going to start with the Sudanese refugees. I thought this was interesting because I read this and I thought to myself, you know, your country is war torn, and generally you'd want to flee to go somewhere else, right? And what we find for these folks from Sudan is that okay, so let me just read through the story and then we'll get through it. So they picked a war-torn home over inhospitable Egypt. So let's read through what that means. So there's a quote on the right-hand side that says that we can't go back, we can't move anywhere else, and we can't stay here. Now, this is a Sudanese refugee in Cairo. Now, the high-level points, the 4 points here are: it's a 10-month war between Sudanese army and paramilitary rapid support forces pushed 450,000 people into Egypt. So employment, proper housing, and aid have become difficult to find within Egypt's 2-year economic crisis worsening because inflation hit at 39.7% last year. So landlords are and just to be clear, right, in America, they're talking about inflation as an issue, and it's at like, I think 4%. I think it's gotten as high as 9% in America, right? Just for context. So inflation in America high right now is like 4%, as far as I understand. It got as high as 9% under the last 2 presidents in the United States. And we're talking about a 39.7% inflation in Egypt. And so obviously that's a problem for some of these Sudanese refugees. Landlords allegedly target Sudanese refugees with rent hikes, abuse, and harassment. Human rights groups and Sudan warn of rising anti-refugee sentiment. So some backstory. The war between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces paramilitary group had increased Sudan's internally displaced population of already 9 million people. Meanwhile, 1.7 million had fled abroad, with 450,000 of them ending up in Egypt. So, but an economic crisis has caused Egyptians to turn on Sudanese refugees, whom they see as a burden. And so this has happened from time to time when people leave as refugees from one country and go to another. A lot of times it does have an impact directly on their economy. It's happened all around the world in all different kinds of ways that this has happened. So many Sudanese are now deciding between homelessness in Egypt and risking their lives by returning to the war-ravaged country of Sudan. Unfortunately, reports say many Sudanese neighborhoods have been devastated, and the few houses that stand are swarming with fighters. So the junta-led countries had already been suspended from the bloc, and which began, disregard that last sentence. That's a copy-paste error. It's been a long day. So yeah, I mean, look, if you think about this, right, like if your choice is going back to your house that has been demolished and or bombed, or there are fighters and gunfire happening there, or live homelessness or experience homelessness in Egypt, what choices do you have? And this is the choice that people are having to make right now. And it's really tough. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that that's the choices that some people have to make, but those are the choices that some people have to make. So I'd love to hear from you guys on this. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think Egypt should have programs to help? Do you think other international communities should step in and help in Sudan? What do you think should happen in Sudan to try to help these folks? Good evening. Sorry, I'm late. That's Manelik. Shout out to Manelik. So let me give my thoughts. My initial thoughts are these, right? When you have a civil war within your country, one of the things that have to be taken in consideration is aid for your residents, right? And I know that it's always a challenge to figure out how to get aid to those people when you're in the middle of fighting a war. But there are international aid organizations that always are coming in. And so figuring out how to get people to somewhere safely while also ensuring that they have proper, healthcare if needed, food, shelter. That's an important process, and it happens very little in the middle of war, right? I mean, people are just worried about fighting the war, especially the folks who are involved in it. And so I think that there needs to be some work done. Light is gone again. I think it's, 3 times or 4 times in the last hour and a half. So Jacob Porter is saying, I believe the people without homes need to work with people with homes, with a unified understanding with each other and work together. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that, right? Working together to ensure that people don't experience homelessness. But you can also understand that people who have their own homes, who worked hard for them, may not want to take in random strangers into their homes, right? Obviously, we look at this as like, this is your country, people. You should bring in those people. But what if there was a civil war in the United States, right? How many people do you think, actually, here's a better one. If there's a civil war in Mexico and people start flooding across the border, how many Americans do you think are going to take in those Mexican folks, right? Think about that. And obviously, we'd like to see that there'd be more humanitarianism. But if you really think about that, you can understand what's happening right now between Sudan and Egypt, right? I mean, they're not the same. It's not the same. It's not Mexico and the United States, but just wanted to give you that context, right? Like one country and another as neighboring countries. So that's a very difficult process. And the United States is already saying, like, there are already many politicians and people saying that Mexicans are taking their jobs, they're bringing crime, etc. So the question is, how many of those people would actually take Mexicans in, right? And so that's how you have to kind of think about it, right? If in Egypt they're saying we have a 37.9% inflation right now, and it's because a lot of the Sudanese are coming across our borders, I don't know how many people are going to treat them fairly, right? So Jacob Porter says, I completely understand where you're coming from, and that gives you saying that they are somehow show their gratitude and perspective and trustworthiness. Not sure I understand exactly what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, it'll be tough, right? I mean, if you just use, I like to use the United States for context for many people, because most people understand that contextually, right? And so it's just one of those things, right? Like, would people in the United States allow Mexicans into their homes? Unlikely. And I think just because, and it's still North America, right? Technically, Canada, the United States, and Mexico are considered North America. If I'm not mistaken, Mexico's part of North America, right? So it's the same continent, different countries, completely different groups of people, belief systems, etc., different languages, right? I think many people see the continent of Africa as like one monolith, and it's not, right? And so many times it's very hard to see how, for many people, how people couldn't just go from one country to another. Why wouldn't you? They're not like states. They are like countries. And even then, how many New Yorkers would allow New Jersey people into their homes? How many New Jersey people would allow New Yorkers into their homes? How many Georgians would allow Floridians into their homes, right? So even if it was states within the same country, it'd still probably be the same kind of issue, right? So I hope that gives more context. So I think, okay, so Jacob's saying, guess who was, I would try, just bring people in that need, just show love. Okay, he's saying to show love and try to figure it out. Bakari Fraser says, I think the neighboring countries should provide aid and any amount of support to help. We need to come together and help each other, but we got to put the work in. That's true. That's fair. Edward Leslie says, if I'm not mistaken, my brother, the Egyptians also are dealing with the Palestinians coming in from their war. Exactly, that is true. So from the other side of things, right? From the other side, from Palestine to their north, they're also dealing with Palestinians trying to come in. I don't know if Egypt has allowed Palestinians in, but there are many displaced Palestinians looking for somewhere to go, and they're already been sent south because the Israelis, as part of the campaign for bombing and everything, had told those Palestinians, go south, right? You will be out of bombs range if you go south, but they keep going south and south and south. And at some point, there's so many people, there's not enough space for them where they are. And so people are trying to get into Egypt. So Egypt is dealing with this from two sides, right? You're dealing with a war between Israel and Palestine on the north, and then you're dealing with Sudan and their civil war and another border, right? And so Egypt is basically, dealing with this crisis on two sides. But that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Edward Leslie. I think that is a really good point. So it's good. I'm glad we got a discussion going about that, because I think this is interesting. So Ms. P said, Joe, I agree with you 100% about Mexico, right? So that context makes sense. Good. The real source says, Kushe Fambo. What's up, Kushe? Kwame says, Arabs do not like Africans. We know this from history and the way Arabs treat Africans. I tried to fill in the blanks there, but I think I got this. I get what you're saying. Kwame also says, hi, authentic African and everybody. What's up, Kwame? Ms. P says, it's very sad the way the U.S. government treat Mexicans and Haitians. Yes, it is. I don't want to, derail this conversation too much, but I think it's important to use that context to understand why there would be people in Egypt not taking in the refugees from Sudan. Anybody else have any other thoughts on that particular topic? I think that's good. I like the feedback that we're getting there. It's good to cover some of these things. I think a lot of times we have these conversations and it just seems like it's easy. There's an easy solution, and those easy solutions are much more difficult. There's a lot of history between these countries. Just for example, King Tut, actually, if you think about King Tut, and King Tut lived something like, don't quote me exactly, but something like 4,000 plus years ago, right? Something in that range, 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Can't remember which dynasty, doesn't really matter to this discussion. But even back then, however long ago it was, King Tut, depicted on his throne, his sandals, all the paintings and everything all around him, was that he's always fighting two people at once. He's fighting the Africans from the south and the Arabs from the east, right? And that was always depicted on everything that he sat on, that he wore. It was kind of like his thing, and he wore it on his slippers in particular because he's like, we're stomping them out, right? The threat from the south and the threat from the east. And the south threat was the Sudanese, right? Sudan, another version of the Sudanese, right? Different tribes, not the country called Sudan because that was named later, but it was these tribes from the south that what's now the Egyptian region, or Kemet, as many people called it, or are calling it of its previous iteration. And so, so this is not new, right? And so you have these kind of conflicts that are really difficult to navigate. All right, cool. So that's Sudanese refugees. So now, here's a topic that I think we want to do a deeper dive into altogether, the Congo. It's something that, you'll see me post pretty aggressively on my timeline. You hear a lot of people talking about it more, because the Congo is an interesting place because the raw materials that come out of the Congo literally make everything we use. Smartphones, laptops, batteries, for all the solar stuff that you do. So whether you're in an electric vehicle or in a solar powered house, anything that requires a battery, the raw materials, most of the raw materials, if not all, are coming from the Congo. And there's so many things going on in the Congo. Civil unrest, civil war, there are illegal mining, there's illegal use of miners, in those mines. The companies that sell the products made in those mines always say, all of the safety precautions are being taken, no hand digging or any of this stuff, and it's all untrue. So I think it's really important to understand there's a lot going on in the Congo right now. There's a lot of fighting and infighting for their resources and for the ability to make money off those resources. So let's go through some of the bullet points here, because I think it's really important to review what is actually going on. Kinshasa has accused Rwanda of carrying out a drone attack in Goma Airport in eastern Congo. A civilian aircraft was reportedly hit and damaged. Nearby residents reported hearing 2 loud explosions around 2 a.m. on Friday, February 16th, this last Friday. And according to a confidential UN document, M23 rebels used high-tech mobile surface-to-air missiles allegedly supplied by Rwanda. So now what they're saying is allegedly folks from Rwanda have stepped into this fight. So just 20 kilometers or 12 miles from Goma, fighting has intensified in Saketown or Saketown, I don't know, between Congolese government troops and M23 rebels. M23 has reportedly blocked all land routes out of the city. Presently, the only way out of Goma leads to Rwanda. So unconfirmed reports say Eastern Europe mercenaries are fighting alongside the Congolese troops. Kinshasa denies those claims, and a mini summit on the DR Congo situation was held on the sidelines of the African Union's summit in Addis Ababa this last weekend. So is Rwanda involved? I don't know. I think only time will tell. But it seems based on this article that they might have an incentive to be involved to try to end this so that people aren't actually flooding into their country, which I think is interesting, right? You see how the themes of these different conflicts make sense, right? You have a neighboring country that is dealing with the after effects of a civil war in the next country over, and how it spills into their country and causes all kinds of disruption. And they all are responding to it differently. But it seems as though, according to this article and according to speculation, that there's a potential, at least according to UN, and who knows how true or how much insight they had, but they're saying that they think that these missiles were supplied by Rwanda. So thousands of people have fled from neighboring towns towards Goma in the latest clashes between Congolese troops and the M23. The rebel group has reportedly cut off all routes to the city except for a single roadway leading to Rwanda. So with over 7 million Congolese being displaced by the ongoing battles, aid groups are warning of a dire humanitarian system as more refugees stream into overstretched camps. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, just to know that. So, any thoughts on this? Let's see if we got any thoughts from anybody. This one seems okay. So, Aurelia is saying coltan. Yeah, coltan is the rare metal found in all of these devices. Some people say cobalt, coltan. From what I understand, they're interchangeable. But you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Kwame says, let's let them. Okay, so I guess he's saying let's hope they sort out whatever issues that are going on. Aurelia says distracting us with Israel and Palestine. I mean, that's an interesting thought process. I think for me, I'm not always of the mind that there is a deliberate distraction of something by something else. I honestly don't think that that's the case. To me, I think it's just there's just not enough reporting on what's happening in the DRC. I'm not sure what's happening in Israel and Palestine is necessarily a distraction, because you have to think about this as a news channel, any kind of news channel, right? In the United States of America, most people watching the news are watching to learn about something they care about. So the Israel-Palestine thing might be more interesting to them because they share some commonalities with one of the religions and many people who might consider themselves religious in the United States may actually be more drawn to that particular conflict. Also, because the people on either side kind of look different. There's a group that tend to be a little bit darker and a group that tend to be a little bit lighter, right? And so when you see a conflict between the two, I think that can lead to people being more curious and interested in what is actually happening between these two groups. And I think they may actually spend more time on that. And of course, the news stations pick that up, and they'll continue to play it because their ratings are at an all-time low, and they're trying to increase viewership and subscription to these cable boxes. Let me see if there's any other comments, questions, or thoughts on anything I was just saying. Let's see. Just scrolling through Instagram right now. Give me a second, guys. See if there's anything here that I have not yet addressed. Excuse me. I don't think there's anything there. So, okay, here we go. There's a new one. It don't benefit us as Africans, and I am in the USA and says does not care about America. Okay, William 8197, appreciate your contribution. Anyway, so DR Congo's latest, that's what's happening there. We are, like I said, we're gonna do a deep dive on the Congo. I definitely want to try to get a specific guest on if we can. If not, there are other guests that we can get on to explain what's happening. So ideally, this is no longer just me. There are other folks on here to talk about their experiences and their thoughts. All right. So, excuse me. Sorry, guys. So here's another interesting story that I came across. And the headline was a little misleading. Oh, you know what? There's actually some people still talking about the conversation in the DRC. So let's get to that. The real source says, DR leaders need to be held accountable. Also, I wonder how much is language a barrier to exposing and accessing information? That's also true. You know, in some cases, people don't. You might have to translate or do other things to try to get information out. So there may be something to that. The real source says the road between Rwanda and DRC can be risky. Got it. Aurelia says American will fund Ukraine but won't lift a finger for the Congo. Yes, true. And I think, you know what's interesting? I used to say this all the time. The United States will fight and be involved in something if they know it's going to have a direct benefit for the country, right? And I used to say that all the time. This is kind of like something that people would just say all the time. So like, yeah, we're in Iraq because of oil. And there's all these things people would say, right? You know, or we're in Afghanistan because of oil, whatever. And I don't really know the truth about that. I don't really know if we get oil from there, what the situation is. But it seems as though that isn't always the case because there are a lot of companies benefiting from what's happening in the Congo benefiting from the natural resources in the Congo. And so you think the United States would be much more involved. But maybe it's probably the lobbying that's happening. You know, in Washington about what they should do pertaining to the DRC. There may not be enough. There may not be enough people on it. So, sorry, excuse the yawn. I keep yawning. It's been a lot of late night and early mornings. All right. So this French revolt citizenship story I thought was interesting. You know, when I first read the headline, I was like, what? It would be France that would do that. That's what a lot of these coups have happened in French colonies. So let's read through the story. So on the African island of Mayotte, is that how you pronounce it? Because I actually don't know this island that well. France allows citizenship based on ancestry and birthplace. However, French President, lights going out again. French President Emmanuel Macron has promised eliminating French birthright citizenship, according to the Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin. So French authorities say the measure would address an immigration crisis in what France calls an overseas territory, or its other people would call it a colony. Thousands of Comorans flee poverty and corruption each year by heading to Mayotte, halfway between Madagascar and mainland Africa. So the influx has led to many Mayotte residents to protest rising crime and poverty levels. However, this framing lays the challenges Mayotte faces at the feet of other African people rather than continued French colonialism. Mayotte's 7-year drought, which colonial underdevelopment tends to exacerbate, makes an influx difficult for the island. In the 1970s, Mayotte chose to stay a French colony as Comoros announced its independence from France. So that's interesting, right? We talk a lot about in Africa how most people got their freedom and independence, and Mayotte actually decided to stay a colony, which is rare, very rare. But they decided to stay a colony. So I think it's important to think about these things, right? So why not nah says they had to way back due to the reaction AT Mayotte. Okay, can you explain to me what you're saying there? I kind of missed what you're getting at. Shout out to Ofino Naturals who just joined. Ooh, almost dropped the phone. Okay, cool. So let's get back into the stories. Now I cannot see my screen. Shout out to the light going out here. Hopefully it comes back in a second. If not, I'm gonna have to find another way to do this. Let me just unplug the second screen for now and try to do this for one screen. All right, cool. Let's see if you guys can still see my screen. All right, still working. So that's the French citizenship discussion. Any thoughts on that, by the way, guys? I want to hear from you guys. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Anything in particular about France? Okay. I don't benefit. Okay, so we already talked about that. SMS support. I love and care my best ability to help any way I can. Okay. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Okay. Why not now says, I mean, they had to undo because the people in Mayotte were mad. Okay. I think I'm missing some context here on the Mayotte thing. But they're saying, excuse your English. No worries. I know English is a second language for many people. Most people who I know, and I think almost my entire family, obviously born outside the United States, English was a second language. So I understand what it's like. So English is a hard language to learn. So no problem. Okay. So that's on the French revoking citizenship. So now this story I found interesting, right? Because it's the first time I ever heard of an African country in recent years involving itself in a Western country, especially the Caribbean. And so, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anything like this recently. So right now there's been some pushback for the Kenyan police being in Haiti. So 6 Congress members have denounced plans by the U.S. to support the Kenyan policing mission to Haiti, and they denounced it as misguided. They cited allegations that the Kenyan officers are guilty of rights violations, including extrajudicial unaliving of people. So the proposed 1,000-strong Kenyan mission to Haiti is mired in controversy. Critics say it violates Haitian sovereignty with Nairobi and Washington's imperialist bidding. That's what the article says. Sorry, with Nairobi doing Washington's imperialist bidding. So President Ruto, who is the president of Kenya, has vowed to proceed, though the Kenyan High Court ruled the planned deployment unconstitutional. So it sounds like there are people on either side who don't want to see this happen. And so grumbles are now also being heard in the U.S. Congress over the Kenyan police mission to provide quote unquote security in Haiti. at the request and bankrolled by Washington. 6 members have written the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, calling the venture misguided. They say it lacks clear purpose and should really be a Haitian-led effort. But they also are worried about the moral standing of Kenyan officers, citing allegations they carry out extrajudicial unalivings and other rights abuses. And if you guys are hearing me for the first time and wondering why I phrase things the way I do, like saying unaliving and things like that, it's because YouTube has continued to shadow ban me. And so I have to be very careful the words I say and the things that I say, or they will continue to ban posts. Yeah, so that's why you might see phrases interchanging. I say it lacks clear purpose, right? But I think it's interesting that we'll see what happens with that. All right, so Kenya is also to enter South Sudan's peace talks with Sudan. You see Kenya is now going all the way to Haiti. They'll also be entering the peace talks in Kenya, on the continent of Africa. So Kenya's President Ruto is taking over as chair of South Sudan's peace process at the personal request of South Sudanese President Salva Kiir. Although a peace deal was struck in 2018, a number of armed holdout groups refused to sign. The aim is to get them on board so that the elections can be held in December 2024. So it says Ruto's agreement has led to the process. Ruto's agreement to lead the process may surprise some, as he was rejected as a moderator in the civil war raging in South Sudan's northern neighbor, Sudan. So South Sudan became independent in just 2011 in a referendum held after the bloody civil war to break away from Sudan. South Sudan and Sudan are 2 different countries now because of that civil war. But conflict broke out in the new country in 2013 after initial political spat in the ruling Sudan's People's Liberation Movement. All right, cool. So those are the stories for today. Let me see what everyone has to say. Let's see what comments do we have here. A bunch of people joining from Instagram. Love to see it. Love to see it. Can't get to you all. And then with Instagram, sorry. So what do you guys think? Sorry, I was a bit distracted. Got a call. So let me get back on track. So what do you guys think about Kenya being involved in the peace talks? To me, I see it as if doing it with goodwill and can actually help, it'd be interesting. But I don't know if that's what they want, right? If that's what South Sudan is asking for, I don't know. So 45.4 says not good. Why do you say so? Why do you say it's not good? What are your reasons for thinking that Kenya should not involve itself? I'm interested to get your thoughts. All right. Well, guys, I really thought this was good. Okay, so here it's 45.4 says Kenya is engaging with terrorist RSF militias in Sudan. They do not intervene in good faith. Interesting. So that's what 45.4H says. I cannot confirm or deny whether that is true. YouTube, Instagram, do not shadow ban me. Just reading comments of folks, and they're sharing their insight and information, and we're sharing it with the group. So William is saying that Kenya shouldn't get involved for reasons that basically saying that they're getting involved in something that other people are perpetuating, put it that way. Jacob Porter says, I believe we all as a nation together as one, not different colors, different ethnic groups, races, or anything like that, should just be a collective group. That's interesting. That's one interesting way to look at the world. I think many people would disagree with that. Okay, so there's a bunch of comments on YouTube that I missed, so I want to get back to this. So Kwame says, I understand why the USA would support Ukraine and not the Congo. If the people of the Congo were the same race as Ukraine, then the USA would help. Maybe so. I think one of the things that happens and you think about it is many people are willing to get involved and to stop something and try to help. If the people, they can see them as a cousin, a mother, a brother, because you have the same complexion, you know, and so I do see that happens a lot, like, and just in terms of how people treat one another, right? Generally, this is how it works. Okay, the real source said, okay, the real source is talking about some things in the U.S. related. Trump wanted his birthright citizenship. Many people on the political right in America want to challenge birthright citizenship, by the way. So he just took up one of the mantles of that party, the political right in America. So yeah, it's something that they've been talking about a lot, actually. And so it seems as though if someone from the political right wins, they could probably try to pursue something like that. The real source says, I don't get Ruto's motivation. Where's that, in Kenya? Or, okay, in Kenya. I don't get Ruto's motivation in Kenya. In Haiti, sorry. Ruto's motivation in Haiti. Kwame says, I think there's more to the story with regards to Kenya and Haiti. I think that's what a lot of people are saying. Is it the resources? Is it other people imploring Kenya to go in there? Because it's a bad look for America to be there. So is it those folks trying to get Kenyans into Haiti so America doesn't take the L politically? You know, that's a question. Kenya took a big L for that. They're going to never forget about that. The real source says, peace talks in Sudan. Kenya's involvement makes sense because they've had a long history of Sudanese refugees. Okay, that's the real source's thought. Kwame says, it's good that Kenya is involved in the peace talks. Okay. And Shoot Bebop Rocksteady says, I think it needs to be dissected on what's really going on down there. Well, yeah, you may be right about that. All right, guys, it's been a fruitful live, lots of engagement. I am definitely losing my, I'm tired, really tired. So got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, got a bunch of stuff to do. And so I do want to always say, as always, I want to say thank you guys all for joining, for participating, for sharing this with folks, and for ensuring that we continue to bring these things every week to you every Monday. So again, as I told you guys before, I'm looking to have contributors, people who write these kinds of stories, to be a part of these discussions. I think it'll be really important to get them because they've done research, and even if it's just one short story, they've done enough research for like 5 pages, right? And so we want to know what is it all that they've gotten to the bottom of these things, and their opinion on specific topics that you guys mentioned about these things. So Deja says, this is off topic, but thank you for sharing information. I just found out that you're staying in Gambia, and that's where my family is from. Well, I was visiting the Gambia. I'm not staying in Gambia. I was visiting the Gambia, and I'm still putting out content from the Gambia, but technically I'm in Sierra Leone right now. But I do have more content from the Gambia coming, but I'm not staying there. I was just there for a little over a week last year sometime. But thank you guys all for watching. This has been great. As always, I want to just thank all of the people that held it down from the beginning, people who've been around for a while, who've always been, consistent. I want to call out a few people, or shout out a few people. Kwame has been pretty consistent. Even Shoot Bebop, the real source, has been around for a while, on and off, back and forth. Who else we want to shout out? Miss P, always stopping by. Manelik, always stopping by. Anne-Marie Harding, of course. So I want to, excuse me, also say thank you to you guys for holding it down and being around for a while now. Because, you know, I've been doing these lives since, let's say, May of 2022. And I've gone live almost every week without fail. Maybe I missed 1 week because, you know, some issue, family issue, or travel. But Kwame says, good show, thank you. Miss P says, thanks, Joe, for the information. No problem. I'm always happy to help and happy to share. But I need you guys to share this with other people when the replay is live, because right now YouTube is shadow banning me. They're not allowing my content to get in front of as many people as it should. So make sure you share this with them, and so that they know, you know, what's going on. All right, guys, with that, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next video.